What's going on, nation? Welcome to a little Tuesday morning chat here, November 14th, 2023. Taking a breath, long night, football, basketball, a lot going on. Want to encourage people to engage with what's going on here, which is a conversation. And it is a conversation that will expand upon sports, media, what's going on at different sports, and the whole thing. So, gonna crack a beer as I always do, and we're gonna have at least one beer here on this chat. But the beer is the conversation, it's the interaction, it's the love and the respect where for me, this is my Monday night chat where I have the opportunity to take a step back for at least a half second in my life and just discuss sports with you guys and see what's going on. I see three people in the chat. Please tell me who's in here. I know we're hanging out and now zero people in the chat. As I always say, I'm great at talking to myself. I've learned to love the opportunity to not only dominate, but discuss life with people. And I will be talking for the next 45 minutes here. So file in the door as you will, and we will see what's going on here. It is Sharky Waters Nation, 9 words of lifestyle ride, the waiver get out of the water. Cracking a beer here and have not done a video for zero people since probably 7 years ago. I think that's a beautiful point of reflection is that, big time will never big time itself. Sometimes you just got to check yourself. And, if nobody's going to watch this video, it's not about necessarily my lack of abundance or anything, but, sometimes I got to check myself. I'm really I'm not anybody. Who am I? Who am I? I'm the shark. I'm just a dude. So who the fuck am I to think that I deserve anybody to watch me? So I'm going to give you guys insight into sports, psychology, basketball, and football. I'm going to drink a highlight, as I always say, my favorite beer. Just mispoured it in the idea of environmental analysis. A beautiful beer it is. And cheers to you guys who are in the chat. Ryan Buckup, my guy. Cheers to you, brother. Appreciate the conversation last week. We were discerning, some of the mishaps that I made over the course of my life and my career. And I appreciate you for challenging me on that, honestly. And I think that, conversation wins at the highest level. And I'm willing to confront any mistake I ever made. I've made mistakes, when you're living in the public life. And I'm not sitting here saying that I'm in the public life in a really deep way, but, it is public life. There is a public perspective about what you do. And, sometimes you're being a human being and you are just, stupid in certain moments. So, I appreciate you challenging me on that. And I appreciate the conversation, the whole thing. So cheers to us. Cheers to conversation. Cheers to the greatness of human beings. So let's cheers to that. And this beer really is excellent. It really is excellent. I probably have beer three or four nights a week, I would say. 3 or 4 nights a week. But this beer is it's just excellent. It's a nice buzz. It's palatable. It's just a great little thing, and it's very nice to just touch on. So let me take a sip on this. We'll get into a flow, and cheers to you guys if you're having any beers, any libations, any beautiful women, anything going on. I know it's an open conversation, and truthfully, I've made the comment before. This is the first time I've been single in 10 years, and it's a crazy adventure for me as a person. I haven't really been out there in the wild looking at girls like that in so long. And I was just walking down the street earlier and I was like, wow, shit, I feel a little younger. And it's not that I don't feel young. I always try to feel young. And, I keep myself young, generally speaking, for who I am as a person. But man, I will say this to you guys, you know, being single for the first time in 10 years, it hits pretty hard. And it really kind of opens you up in your mind. You're like, whoa, what's going on? Like, that girl that I thought was maybe pretty hot, but I was married and couldn't talk to. Now all of a sudden you can talk to that girl. And it's like, shit, life is open. Life is adventurous. Life is fun. And I think it's just an interesting point as we flow into the conversation. My guy Petros, what up, bro? What's going on, boss? We're going to talk some football here, talk some basketball. Just letting some people assimilate and just seeing what's going on. Ben Stevens, what's up, brother? Appreciate you, man. My guy. Bro, I mean, just right there. Right there. I mean, there's no way around it. I was a single man in 2012. And I'm a single man now in 2023. It's absolutely mind blowing, and it's something that really I could have never predicted for myself. I never envisioned this, but I do think that just in general, certain things just happen. It's so cliche. They happen for a reason. They fall into your lap. It's an openness. It's a new opportunity, whatever you want to call it. But I mean, unbelievable, unbelievable. I haven't looked at women like that in since I was 27, and I'm 38 now, and it's like it's this weird environment for me. And I guess we'll go this direction for at least a couple of minutes here, but it's a weird environment for me because when you're married, and I was not contractually married, but I was with a girl for 10 years. You're married. I mean, anybody who's ever been with a girl for 10 years, you're married. You know, and I really, really just I believe in discipline and I believe in respect. And I really got to a point with my ex girl where I thought I would never hook up with any other girl. Like, no way. Like, I'm so loyal to this girl. I love her. I'm gonna even through her struggle, which you guys obviously who watched a lot of the content that I put out last year, you guys know she was really unregulated, made a lot of things really difficult for me in a lot of ways. But even through that struggle, I was just always trying to witness her process as a person and just respect her and say, you know what? Like this is an adventure of 75 years and we're going to do well for ourselves. We're going to grind and we're going to just keep going, going, going. That's how I believe life is and that's how I believe relationships should be. It should be perpetual forgiveness and exploration. And she did not see any of that. And of course, moved on very quickly, disrespectfully, I will say. And it just brought me to this insane, insane point where I got to this self confrontation. And I said to myself, bro, you are legitimately single for the first time in 11 years. And it's one of those weird things where it's so sexy to be single when you're 20, when you're 25, when you're 30. It's not sexy to be single when you're almost 40 years old. I'll tell you that. It's just not. And it's kind of sexy from the standpoint like you have opportunity. There's beautiful women all around. Like, let's go. But from a perspective standpoint, when you commit to somebody and they desert you in a very disheartened way, it's not exciting, I will say. And especially, I would say initially, first moments, months, disheartening, just uncomfortable. But as it starts to build into itself, I think there is excitement. And I think I'm starting to feel more excited. And shout out to my guy Ben Stevens for grinding through it. I know you feel very similarly, and it's just as the process of life goes forward. And I made the comment in May when the whole thing went down. I would say partially, disruptively. And I said to you guys, and I was talking on Twitter, not YouTube, but I said, it's going to take some time. Like it's a season of life, like you don't just bounce back from things that are really kind of disruptive and apocalyptic. And here we are 6 months later, 7 months later, and I'm starting to feel a little bit of freedom. And I really am. And, it's kind of a beautiful thing actually, because when I started this channel, I was immersed in the struggle actually of my previous relationship. I started this channel in 2000, I believe 17 or 18. So we're going back, what, 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. And I was in the middle of this relationship with this girl. And through that process, there was never really any sort of emotional connection within the channel and my opportunity and as what I was doing. And it was just a weird almost anchor on my soul, I would say, not necessarily finances or merchandise or the process, really on my soul from the standpoint that as I was growing as a person, obviously creating the channel and talking to you guys for hours and hours and hours over the last 5.5, 6 years, she was never really supportive. She was always very much kind of like like you're doing it wrong, you're not doing the right thing, you're degenerate. Like, for example, if I cracked a beer and I had a conversation going back the last 5 or 6 years, it was always a negative talk after the show. And I would always say to her, I was like, babe, like you don't really know what's going on here. Like, we're having a conversation that is deeply expansive and deeply positive for people that are listening and connecting with what's going on. And it was just this really, really negative environment that just continued to just perpetuate itself. And as you guys know, you guys saw some of my videos in the spring. I was in Pennsylvania. The girl moved on and she actually hooked up with another guy while I was literally in the apartment. And I was literally, it's wild to say. It's literally wild, at least in my vision of life. I was sitting in an apartment while my girl would come home, look at me, kiss me, and then go out and hook up with another guy. And I never in my entire life thought I would be in that position, ever. And it was one of the most disheartening points in my entire life. Just complete, utter betrayal. And not only that, right in front of my face. And it wasn't once, it was 2.5 consecutive months every night. And it just literally was, it sucked my soul out. Where I had committed so much time and energy to a person who literally looked me in the eye every day and disheartened the entire situation disrespectfully and went out and actually hooked up with another guy while I was sitting in an apartment grinding sports betting, profitability, this channel with you guys at the highest level, and would just go out night after night and tell me my girlfriends are so big time. And I'm not lying to you guys. She would say, my girlfriends, she wouldn't use the word big time. She'd say, I have these new great girlfriends. We have sleepovers, we're watching movies, whatever. And I was like, this is getting way too weird. And it ended up culminating in a point where she was going out another night, yet another night. And I'm not that guy. I will tell you guys, I am not that guy. You guys know me very well from this channel. I'm a very trusting person. I really trust humanity. I love people. I do not try to find the problem in people. I try to find the positive. She pushed me so far, I went through her phone. First time I'd ever gone through her phone in sort of a sinister way in terms of the expectation. And I found promiscuity. I found dick pics. I found sexual promiscuity. I found the whole thing. And I said to her, you got to be fucking kidding me. I looked at her and I said, you literally disrupted 10 years of our life. And she literally was just like, the first thing she said to me, guys, the first thing she said to me, she said, are you going to kill yourself? I kid you guys not. And it speaks to the narcissist in the mind. The narcissist is out there cheating on somebody. And when they're found out, they actually say to the other person, are you going to kill yourself? And I said to her, what are you talking? What? I was sitting on a couch in the living room of our apartment. I said, no, but I'm like shockingly disturbed and like my entire life has been altered. But no, I'm not going to kill myself. And she was like, oh, okay, good. And I was like, the insanity of a narcissist is somebody who makes the mistake and then projects the mistake on the other person as if they're going to commit some sort of self-harm, and therefore their weakness is the problem almost. And therefore, if I ever say I harmed myself on this, she would have a scapegoat and say, he killed himself. Can you believe that? I only made a small discretion and this guy killed himself. So I'm still the victim. The point is they always play the victim. So when she projects that onto me, she's basically trying to become the victim, which is a continuous weakness mentality. And people who cheat on people, they just feel deep insecurity and weakness. And they're always trying to manipulate situations where they get false power. So for her to actually legitimately be in a relationship with another guy right in front of me, and then to say to me at the first glance, "Are you going to kill yourself?" She's actually saying that with the intention of gaining power herself, which is actually pretty crazy. That's just the insanity of psychology and how people maneuver things. And let me look at the chat here. Michael Martinez, my guy, what's up, brother? Scott Foster, what's up, brother? Timothy Van Ness, what's up, brother? Uh, Absolutely narcissistic and controlling, 100%. Narcissistic with the projection where they flip the environment from their own fault onto you, which is precisely what this girl did to me for easily 6 months. And now that I look back on it, 3 or 4 years prior, it was all just building into this culminating point of her actually going out with another guy. It's just this general idea that they are doing something that is so um, you know immoral, and they are so sinister within it that all their anger is projected directly onto you. And I firmly believe this. I believed this before I had this relationship, but it's completely confirmed now, having experienced it, is that if somebody's projecting anger onto you, they're probably doing something wrong themselves. And that was so far confirmed, so far confirmed. And Petro's 100%. They don't understand our lifestyles, but I will say this: the right girl will understand the lifestyle. The right girl will understand the lifestyle. It's not. We don't have to deal with abusive women just because we're sports gamblers and entrepreneurs that you stay up all night and hang out. Like, and I don't mean hang out. I say hang out loosely. We don't hang out. Like, we're not recreational, but we don't have to deal with abuse just because we're these guys. Like, there's a ton of women that would respect the absolute hell out of that. So, and not only that, but if you're not going to respect it, don't don't commandeer and then immorally really kind of mess with somebody on top of it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just a wild, wild environment on that. Ben says my baby mama wants to take me out as well, so I understand that too. Women these days will switch up on you so quick. They may not cheat, but they don't know what's up. Yeah, 100%, 100%. And truthfully, it always comes down to, you know, just how much security the person has inside. And it always goes back to how much does a person have self love. And it sounds so cliche, but it's the dead honest fucking truth. Like, when you meet a woman, you can quickly tell if she's about the periphery or if she's about the soul. And the soul is about just health, wellness, and abundance. She feels good. She wants to do good. She wants to meet a partner that's going to just experience life, and you're going to do great things in this like very still environment. A lot of women are not about that. They're about the chase. It's about the periphery. It's about, what do you have for me? What's going on? How big time are you? And the thing about that, it's fleeting. And something that I heard a long time ago, and I've said this numerous times, but it's just a firm belief I have, and just a core point that I really connect with. It's, don't chase people, let people chase you. And what that means is that all relationships, there's a certain chase. Somebody's chasing somebody just by default. If you're the chaser, by default, you are the insecure body of the relationship. And to become the secure body of the relationship, you have to really become an optimized version of yourself, where by default, you are doing something in life that is profitable for you financially, but also you feel very, very emotionally and physically centered in yourself, where you're not chasing anything. You're feeling really good. That's when people chase your energy. In life, people chase energy. Certain people provide energy, other people chase. It's a constant interweb of chase and just this game. But with women, it's exactly that. You don't have to be the best looking guy in the world. You don't have to prove anything to a girl. It's about what you have to offer for energy. I will tell you guys this as a baseline point: become the healthiest version of yourself. Really, really become the healthiest version of yourself. Eat clean food, work out. Don't do it to become some model that looks good for a girl. Do it so you feel really fucking good. You will attract good energy and you won't need their energy to feel good about yourself. And that's the key point in terms of this energy transactional analysis. And when I met my girl, and this is actually a really interesting point as to why this relationship probably went down the road of trauma and failure. I met this girl when I was 27, 28 years old. I was I wasn't a bad person, but I was definitely not a concrete person in myself. And at that point in life, I was coming out of New York City and I actually moved to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I'm sure you guys know this casino, the Sands. It's now the Wind Creek out in Bethlehem. And I had just moved out of New York City, actually. So I was from New York City. I was, close proximity, people just popping, popping, popping. Just we were so fast with language. I'm still fast with language. I got it from New York City. You can talk a mile a minute. There's people all over the place. You have to survive. I moved out to Pennsylvania to play poker at this casino because I was playing online poker, and at that point in time, it had gotten banned by the government in 2011, which is a different conversation. But I moved out to Pennsylvania and I thought to myself, this is a new beginning for me. But I didn't realize this at the time because I was a younger guy and I thought I could go get it. I never realized that happiness comes from within. It's not about going and getting it, it comes from within. And when you chase the periphery, which is what I chased, you get people who also chase the periphery. So your entire relations with people are about people looking at each other and thinking, what can I gain from them? And both of you guys are looking at each other saying, what can I gain from that person? And that's what I got myself into. I got myself into a bad relationship with somebody who was trying to gain from me, and I was trying to gain from her at that point in time. And of course, spiraled out of control. And I think it's super interesting. And I think it's super interesting, like just in general, how if you don't really put yourself in a position where, and everybody knows this too, and this is the crazy thing about life, everybody knows when they're in the right environment. But most people never listen to their inner voice and they say, I got to hold on a second. I want to just take a step back in my life and say, you know what? I want to just see what kind of quality I have off the record. Most people are so on the record always. And I'm sure I'm speaking directly to you guys because you guys are on the record. Your girl, your job, you barely ever have a half second to self-evaluate. And people become such over regularized people in the system of life because they're just around too much expectation. They never have a chance to step back and say, who actually am I as a person? What's my quality? What do I care about? What's my talent? What do I really want to do with my life? And people talk about sabbaticals and it's hyperbolic and the whole thing. It sounds ridiculous. People are never going to quit their job and do this and that. But it really is highly beneficial to confront yourself and say, what is my talent? What do I care about in life? Like, what do I want to prioritize? Most people are so thrust into this system coming out of college where they never get a half second. All of a sudden, they're 45 years old and they say, shit, I don't even know if I like this life. And it's a kind of a wild fucking thing. It's kind of a wild fucking thing. And I know that as a player in the game myself. I mean, I came out of Dartmouth College and I was very, very unhappy in the system. I thought to myself, I cannot go this route for the rest of my life. And I know fundamentally for myself, if I had gone that route for the rest of my life, I would be a totally different person than you guys are talking to right now. And I think that's just so incredibly interesting from the standpoint of every single one of us in this moment is a consequence of all of the decisions that led us to this moment. And right now, we have the ability to consciously evaluate all those decisions and say, you know what? They were great or they were horrible. or some of them were good and some were bad. Regardless, why am I here right now? But we also have the ability to say, I have control right now, where every decision I make right now going forward, I can change and alter my life to a more positive direction if it needs to become more positive. And I think most people don't hear stuff like that where they think they're very stuck in a window and they don't entirely, it's not that they don't understand, they're not unintelligent. It's more so they never actually have a moment to step back and think to themselves, I am a culmination of millions of decisions that I actually made these decisions and it led me to this point in time. And I'm in control of these decisions. It's never these monumental changes, it's just this slow grade upward or downward in the quality of my decisions. And that's the thing that's so fascinating about life is that most people are very centered on these big trophy moments. You know, they get a promotion, they make six figures for the first time, they get married, this and that. Those are fleeting moments. They're fairly non-existent. And it's this deep idea that you're constantly changing your life with every single decision you make at all points in time. And when you start to really think about that in yourself, everything does matter. And of course, you don't want to drive yourself nuts where you're literally hyper analyzing every single small move you make. But you have to really realize that life is not about all the big time points that are fairly obsolete. It's about every small thing you do every day. When do you get up? How much water do you drink every day? Do you work out? If you don't work out, why don't you? Have you made excuses? Are you prioritizing the periphery? And I will say this, money is the periphery because money comes onto you. You are not generating that and you're chasing commodities. And it's just a fundamental flaw in society, which is why people are so unbelievably out of shape in society, where people just fundamentally put somebody else and something else in outside of their body over their own health. And I'm highly passionate about it from the standpoint that I did that for easily 14 to 15 years. And it led me to my lowest points in life. And when I started to chase my own personal happiness, which was not centered on doing this channel, it was centered on physical fitness and getting in shape first, unintentionally, I would never be having this conversation with you guys. When I was sitting at 245 pounds, eating pizza, drinking beer every day, there is no shot in hell on that arc of my life. There is Sharky Waters Nation. There is these conversations, and there is this connection, which I love to talk to you guys, and I love the interaction. And I know you guys fuck with it big time. And the point is, for me to become a great version of myself, to actualize what I'm capable of, I had to get healthy first. And I firmly believe that you have to get healthy yourself first before you can become the best version of yourself. And then people come to you. Positive people come to you. And that's a very interesting thing about life too, is that you notice when you kind of feel a bullshit energy about yourself, you're not really feeling yourself. You kind of just maybe not making the best decisions for yourself. You get more negative people coming to you. And it's just how people work. People that are making small time decisions become friends because they are constantly excuse factories and they just kind of bring each other down in energy. And sometimes I talk about this, and this was not the plan, but I'm loving this discussion. Most of the things I say are just kind of off the cuff as I flow in life. But with positive decisions, you attract people that are wanting more in life and really just desiring better decisions for themselves and seeking out a better energy and a better happiness. And that is the core point, really, amongst all of this, is that everybody wants to be happy. You know, people make bad decisions to be happy. Isn't that crazy? But they do. People make bad decisions to be happy. They're chasing small window happiness, fleeting moments. They commit crimes. They take drugs. They do stupid shit. They hang out with the wrong people. But it's all about finding happiness. Life is all about a happiness chase. That's the bottom line of the entire human existence. But the glory zone, if you want to call it that, the golden zone of life is understanding that happiness comes from disciplined small window choices that lead you to long-term sustainable happiness where you feel super good every day and you feel good without anybody giving it to you in any context. I think it's a beautiful thing. Truthfully, I think it's a beautiful thing. And it's 30 minutes of content. I want to talk some sports, but you guys get me. I get myself into the zone, but I love this fucking conversation. Andrew O'Neill, my guy, appreciate you, man. Scott Foster, balls, bro. Appreciate you, bro. Got this guy in the house. What's going on, brother? Says, I'm just trying to be content and enjoy my thoughts. I agree with you 100%. And I think that's a very, original point that I went to back when I was, I would say that point when I started to get into my own thoughts a little bit more clearly. I thought the same thing. I just want to feel happy thoughts, really. And I think we all start from that because I think a lot of us come from I would say the chaos zone, which is academia. It's high school, it's college, it's this over competition. It's this lack of genuine nature of people. I mean, I remember saying this to some people probably 15 to 20 years ago, but I remember saying, isn't it crazy that people are so inauthentic at work? People are so inauthentic in college. Like it's kind of a disheartening point where people like myself, and I think some of you guys that are desiring more empathically, people are just so fake and they're fake. And you just walk around life in college at your job and you realize these people are just putting on a complete actor point. They're all frauds. It's not exactly who they are at all. And sometimes you just want to know them better. It's not that you want to have a relationship with them or marry them. You just want to know actually what they're thinking in those moments. And I think there's a huge, huge societal stress point because people are in this game together, the system of life, if you will, and people are so inauthentic. They put on a front publicly at all points in time. So you're spending about 80% of your public life with people who genuinely are acting. So your whole life is like in this bizarre false reality of people just putting on a front about nothing. And you come home and you're like, shit, I can finally relax. Like I got my wife or my kid or my dog and I can chill. But the point is you're so insular, you're so isolated because people are not authentic. And that's the thing that I've challenged norms and I will continue to do it for the rest of my life. I want people to be authentic with their conversation. I say this, I don't say it as a branding point, it's a truth point. Conversation wins. I was in a couple bars in Pennsylvania last year, even when my girl was doing her bullshit. I went out and I would literally be by myself because I just moved there. I knew nobody in the area. And I would go out and I'd say, I got to push some buttons to see what's going on with these people. People are very cliquey. They don't really let newcomers in. And I would always just watch for a period of time and say, okay, this might be the angle I could at least, jump off a conversation with these people. I kid you guys not, I was running about a 90% cover rate on these introductory points. Great conversations, bringing people in. Just people want to jump. They just don't know how to interact with people publicly. And it's just this insane point that when you're a kid and you're thrown into school, you don't even know better. You're so naive. Your whole life is just articulated for you. You got friends, they're there. You're young, you're growing together. All of a sudden you get out in life, everybody doesn't know how to interact. It's not contrived for them. It's not forced in terms of what they're supposed to do. And I had some interesting comments in this whole window of my experience up there where I was talking to a couple of cliques, and you guys know click by word is not necessarily a positive word. It's kind of like this, like they're insecure. They have to prop each other up and keep people out. So I'd walk up to cliques and I knew they were insecure. And I'd be like, I know they're going to try to keep me out, but I'm going to fucking do it because I love people and I know people are going to fuck with me 100%. I know how to fucking just talk to people. And I would see quickly the group disintegrate. And that's the interesting thing about cliques is that most cliques, if a big energy body, I am a big energy body, walks into the group, they don't have any sustainability in their standoffishness. And that's the interesting thing about people in general is that people are standoffish because they're insecure. And if a secure person walks up and starts to really like get the conversation going, the click just completely moves out. And I experienced that so many times. And it's just such an interesting psychological, sociological evaluation of people and how people act. And just this general idea that everybody you see in life, and I mean this completely genuinely, every single person you see in life, take witness. They are a sociological, psychological experiment in action. And everything they're doing is a culmination of all the things they've experienced in their life leading up to this present moment. And it's fascinating because every single person has a deep story behind them, but they will never tell you. But if you know what you're looking at, you can sense it, you can see their general vibe, energy, perspective, conversational point, tendencies, patterns, the whole thing. You can see exactly who they are as a person. And they're looking at you and you're saying, that's crazy you did that. And they're like, how'd you know I did that? And they're like, well, life is a board game. You just got to know how to read the situation. And it's a beautiful fucking thing. Chad Mooney in the house. What's up? My guy Raul. What's up, brother? Appreciate you big time, brother. Appreciate you guys. A couple guys started tipping. You guys know I don't suck for tipping or anything like that. But guys, if you don't mind tipping when we're winning, and we are winning massively. We are close to 250 units in the last 2.5 years. So if you're profiting, send $10, send $25. I appreciate it. It keeps the train running, and I don't mean that as a point of disrespect. It's a point of respect. One of the biggest comments that I got from my guy Drew Fish, who I will give him a shout out. He said to me during the plus 110 unit season 2 years ago, he said, Shark, I respect service. I will pay for service. If we're putting out great service, please tip. And I appreciate you guys tipping. And that, again, that is not a reach. It's just respect. It is respect. So cheers to that. Let's talk some basketball. I want to talk about the games tomorrow. Cheers to you guys. And I will say this. Please have the respect that I have for you guys and give tips. And I want to go into tomorrow's card. Going already dropped the Magic at +2. I thought it was going to get steamed the other direction, which is actually kind of bizarre because it got steamed the other direction. You guys know I'm not the CLB master by any stretch, but the Magic should win this game by 10 points. Literally, the Magic should win this game by 10 points. And Off the Grid Sports, my guy, appreciate you immensely. Open up the chat here. I'm just going to flow off these games. So if you guys have any comments, please drop your plays. Let's just jump off the conversation here. But did drop the Magic at +2, and I'm actually kind of laughing to myself that it's +2.5 now. So I thought the Magic would get steamed, but something that I've noticed about NBA steam here in the first couple of weeks is that it seems very, very chalk oriented. I think that one of the things that I think really is super interesting about market movement in professional basketball, and also I've noticed football over the last couple of years as well, is that this whole idea of syndicate money, I think the syndicates are just very square, like just kind of throwing chunk at CLV points, and they don't really look at the game. And you guys know I handicap in a very deep psychological sense within the game, numbers and narratives, but I really think there's a lot of chunk money in Vegas. These guys don't even look at the game, guys. Like, this is the insanity of this whole thing. Like, there are millions of dollars being moved in sports books, and we could go, if we could ever find these conversations, like these round ball meetings, if you want to call them that, and we could walk in there, and I'd be the first person to say, guys, so what do you think of the game? And I could almost guarantee you they don't even know what is happening in the game. All they do is look at these numbers and say, okay, so this game opened at 4. It dipped down to 2.5. Now we can buy this favorite at 2.5 and get 1.5 points of CLV. They literally have no idea what's going on in the sport, which is insane. Yeah, and Bet the Sky says, I feel like line movement is just a bait trick the bookies play. I mean, trust me, bro. I can't say I don't. I try not to be cynical. I will say that I try not to be cynical because when you really get that route, it can drive you kind of nuts. But I agree with you. I mean, I look at the line move sometimes and I'm like, this has no indication whatsoever as to what's going to happen in the game, and the result goes the complete opposite direction. And it's like I only know syndicate stuff because I used to live in as I mentioned Pennsylvania. I used to hang out in the Sands, and at that point in time in 2012, there was no sports book there, but I was hanging out with a lot of sports gamblers, and they used to talk about syndicates. And at that point in time, I honestly was pretty naive to the situation, but I was always picking up knowledge, and they always kept making points that it was about buying a number, and it's very deceiving if you're not particularly versed in what's going on because it sounds sexy, it sounds professional. They're buying a number like it has to be the sharpest thing in the planet. And when I started to really do this in a detailed way, which is where we are now, I realized these guys are actually like I don't want to insult them, but they're fish. They don't look at the game. They're just as bad as guys that just bet Joe Public because the team's better on a short line. And I started to realize this over the last few years is that like there's a deep market split, but both sides are very fishy. There's people that are just syndicate money on underdogs buying CLV, and those short public guys just betting the better team because they watch Sports Center. And it's like this is why sports books make billions of dollars because neither side has any clue what's actually going on in the game. And that's where I created this channel because I firmly believe, and not only believe, but passionately do this as a point of a lifestyle. There is deep analytical, psychological analysis to what's going on. This is not about just arbitrarily buying a number short or south or north or big time, whatever. And it just blows my mind. It really blows my mind just how ignorant both sides are. It really is. And I was actually running back the last Republican debate just before watching it back, and I got to say, my guy Vivek Ramaswamy might be the smartest guy in the history of the world. Just want to give him a shout. If he ever wants to come on with a shark and talk, I would host this guy in a half second. One of the smartest people I've ever listened to in my entire life. This guy is a fucking genius, literally fucking genius. But if you guys are not familiar with Vivek Ramaswamy politically, look him up. He's an absolute articulate, not even articulate. He's a visionary philosophical genius. And you guys know I never say that about anybody. And I'm telling you guys, he is one of the smartest people in the history of the world. But gonna take a sip of beer on that, guys, and we'll talk about some basketball. Two people shouted out on that. People might not like Vivek. I know he's abrasive, but let's be honest. Smartest people are usually abrasive because they're not just vanilla people that are, sitting in the middle just doing nothing. So I love this guy, Vivek. He is my guy. Anyway, going to give you guys a couple of commentary points. I want to talk. Let's talk NFL first, actually, because I'm going to be on it for another probably 20 minutes, half hour. I usually cop out only because my voice sours. My voice is not souring, so we'll talk deeply. I'm going to retweet this now, get some more people in the chat. Appreciate you guys immensely. Cheers to you guys. Petros, top dogs only, my guy. I would encourage you guys, if you drink. If you don't drink, doesn't matter. I do think that consuming one or two beers on an evening is a very, very profitable point for people. And I will say that having drank hundreds and thousands of beers in my life, I really, really genuinely believe that there's a lot of peacefulness and just general health in having one or two glasses of wine or beers a night. I think it's very, very profitable for a person. I think it's meditative. I would say this: if I didn't have a couple beers tonight, I wouldn't be on here sitting here having a conversation with you guys. My energy was kind of flat earlier, and I'm not sitting here propping up the alcohol industry, but I would say that because I know a lot of people overdo everything. I am one of them. I will say that I am absolutely one of them. I overdo everything. And trying to find some balance in my life, I have found balance since I had this breakup. it's very nice to have a couple beers and just relax. And so I know a lot of guys are top dogs and they fucking pop. So I just want to make that comment about just doing it right and balancing the whole situation. Let me look at the chat here. Just played Chargers and Dolphins. I'm into that. Chargers, I'm on officially already. Put that in for my usual 550 earlier. Nice little spot there. They should fucking smoke. Fucking smoke. I actually considered making that a 2-unit play, but I've been trying to be somewhat regulated financially within the NFL just because the variance is obviously sometimes not ideal. Hornets Heat over 224.5. All right, let me talk NBA. We're going to talk NFL. We'll talk NBA. I might go on here with Junior in the afternoon. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. We're looking at 4 more plays. Obviously, already dropped Orlando. We're playing the Dubs tonight. I'm just waiting for the Dubs line to get moved in a certain direction. The Dubs are in a great spot. Just a great spot. There's no way around it. The Dubs are 0-4 ATS at home. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They're in a heads-up battle here against Minnesota. Minnesota outplayed them to a certain degree in the last game. It was a weird game on a Sunday. Anthony Edwards went off. A lot of great comments. Not only that, you guys know I love the line more than anything. Those are all like the general, like kind of hot narrative points. The line is telling you a story. The line is heavier than it was in the loss. 116-110 Wolves. Now it moves from 1 to 2.5 at open. It's just a great spot. There's no way around it. Not only that, the Wolves are on a dub 7. There's a lot of spots tonight. We are here Tuesday morning here, November 15th, I believe. Yeah, or the 14th. A lot of spots tonight are just great spots. Great spots. Where you find teams on what we always talk about, the best buy spots are when one team is way too hot and one team is way too cold. You know, Minnesota comes in here, and I believe on a dub 7 straight up or dub 6 straight up. So you get the Warriors on an L3 and also 0-4 ATS at home. And you get the Wolves on a dub 6 straight up, revenge game line number, and all sorts of situational dynamics. Just a great fucking spot. And I didn't play it earlier. I was going to post a couple plays earlier, but I realized that people were going to bet the Wolves because people just bet recency bias. And, you know, there's a huge portion of the market that, again, does not handicap the games in really a deeply analytical way. They just kind of look at what happened. So this is very much a public steam point, I think. And, you know, sometimes, like, people will make a comment that, you know, the Sharps moved it towards the Wolves. And it's like, you know, if the Sharps move towards the Wolves, I will say this, the Sharps are fucking fish because they don't look at the game. You guys know this. I would challenge anybody in the world to come on here and talk about NBA basketball with me. There is not one person that I believe knows more about handicapping NBA basketball than I do. And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. And, you know, even last year when we lost, you know, 10 units on the season, it was one of the most chaotic seasons in the history of NBA basketball since I started handicapping it. And I would literally debate any single person in the world on NBA basketball handicapping. And I don't think anybody has deeper angles numerically or psychologically. And, you know, part of the reason why people followed me so intensely over the last 5 years is because this is exactly what I do. I analyze the sport of basketball professionally in such a detailed manner. I know every team. I know every single team in the league, how they play in every single schedule spot. When you give me 1 month, 2 months, all I'm doing in my entire life is tabulating these teams. Like inside of my head is just an absolute tabulation of NBA teams. That's all I do. And I said this before, but I did 2.5 years of shows with Jay Money with no notes. I'm not lying. You guys watch those shows? I literally talked for an hour about deep, unique schedule points for every team in the league with no notes. I get so detailed into what these teams are doing. I know every team like I'm in the locker room. I know exactly what they're going to do on every fucking day. And I know how the Vegas lines are moving in every single point. We were up 110 2 years ago. We were up 55 the previous year, 47 the previous year, another 95 the previous year before I was on here, and we were up numerous units before. Last year, we lost 30 units in 1 month. and we rebounded in one of the most chaotic seasons in NBA history, and we came back up 20 units off that disgusting 1 month outlier. I'm telling you guys this. I follow it more closely than anybody in the world, and I will stand on that. And when I saw my guy Vivek Ramaswamy talk tonight, I will say this. He's my guy. He was born August of 1985. He was slaying political nature, not because he memorized a book, because he's writing the book in life as he lives. And I will say this, I'm writing the book as I live right now. The geniuses of the people are not people you read in a book or memorized. Life is about living right now, tabulating and articulating in a moment. And that's where the top dogs come in. And I will say that I firmly believe this. There is nobody in the world that looks at NBA basketball in more detail analytically than I do. So cheers to that, guys. And that being said, we're looking at the Pistons. Pistons are on an L8. Atlanta beat them 4 times last year. Atlanta is scaling down numerically. The line is on the Pistons. The Pistons are 5-1 ATS against the East. They're 0-6 against the West. They're polarized as hell. Pistons are a buy zone. Not only that, we talked about this before. In this group tournament, home teams and younger teams that will not make the playoffs are buy teams. I'm only not buying this right now because I think Trae Young might play and the line might get up to +6 or 6.5. Detroit is an official play. Don't buy it yet. 4.5 is probably the worst line we're going to see because Trae is questionable at 4 or 5 o'clock. We're also going to buy the Pacers today. We lost with them the other night. We don't run and hide. You guys saw this shit. They were up going in the fourth quarter, melted it off, 37-27 Sixers. It happens like that, particularly with Pacers basketball. They don't really defend. A lot of variance in shot percentage and volatility quarter to quarter. 137, 126, 7.5. Key point, books move it down. 7.5 open last time, 6.5 here, steam down. Pacers spot unequivocally. And these are the spots you want to buy in the sport right now. You want to buy these spots where the teams are playing back-to-back games and the line is moving against the previous outcome. This is the Pacers environment, and this is the Dubs environment. We're also going to be buying the Hornets today. This is another great spot. The Hornets play great against the Heat. The Heat have been flirting with it. They're on a dub 5. They're way too hot. They're scaling down. The line is scaling down aggressively in the division. Charlotte is very, very representative in the division at home against Miami. They beat them once outright last year. Again, same motivational point. This is a young team that will care more about getting to Vegas. 500 grand to their name, every single player on the roster. If you notice what we're buying here today, we're buying all underdogs. We're not only buying underdogs because it's the play-in or the group tournament and just a narrative point. We're buying them because it's actually the number and the environment. Today we're fading a Wolves team that's on a dub 7, and we're buying a Warriors team on an L3 who's 0-4 at home. We're buying a Detroit team that's on an L8 versus an Atlanta team that beat them 4 times last year. We're buying a Magic team that's off a revenge game and a short number against a Nets team that is running an 85% cover rate in the season, also a fade. And the other game, which I failed to mention, the Hornets. The Heat are on a dub 5, which is unsustainable. Hornets are a buy team as well. So this is a great card. Like, this is a statistically glorious card. Every single play we're talking about here is so data-backed on both sides. And I said this last week. I was very frustrated. I said this in the group chat. A lot of you guys publicly didn't hear this. The games that I looked at and did not play last week on Monday and Wednesday. Monday went 8-1 ATS, but I was hesitant early season, just trying to see what was going on. And Wednesday, we went 3-0, but I did drop 2 winners. On Wednesday, I dropped Indy, who hammered Utah, and I dropped Portland, who did cover in overtime against Sacramento. All line functionality spots, all spots that were right, but again, just getting the numbers right and seeing if it's fluid in these environments. These are just great spots. There's no way around it. Any deeply analytical show you watch, which I don't feel like there are many, will tell you these things. The best spots in the sport are where you find one team on a losing streak, one team on an unsustainable winning streak in a merge spot against each other, and the Vegas line moving against the winning team towards the supposed lesser team. It's glorious stuff. It's beautiful stuff. We're not placing these bets now because I think the lines will improve in the afternoon. The official plays for today, for those of you guys who are hanging out and watching, Charlotte Hornets, Detroit Pistons, Indiana Pacers, Golden State Warriors, and Orlando Magic. Cheers to you guys. Big dogs only. Going to talk some football in a second. Let's have a beer. Ben Stevens, that's Warriors. I saw the Warriors at -4 earlier. I knew it was going to get steamed the other direction because people are fading the Warriors because they're 0-4 ATS at home and people think they can't get it together. I was watching, I was reading, I should say, a lot of commentary on the Warriors. The Warriors are just they're going to turn up at home. First of all, they're a great home team. Great home team. They were, I believe, 85% win rate and cover rate last year. And what happened was they actually had a really shitty travel schedule in the first couple weeks here. Their first home game against the Suns was just a one-off, and then they went on the road. Then they came back against Sacramento, and they won 102-101, late Klay Thompson jumper. But the point was they were off a road trip, one-off, going back on the road. And then they came home against Cleveland on a Sunday, I believe it was, and they lost again. And then they played another shit game last night. Not even that shitty of a game, but they just lost kind of a coin flip down the stretch against the Wolves. The point is they're 0-4 ATS at home, but there was one-offs with travel situationally segregated in between Sunday games, off-road trips. They're going to turn up here. And it's just a great spot to buy the Dubs at home. They're going to be turned up. And as I mentioned, I got off track with that thought, but they're going to fire up here. They don't want to lose 2 in a row to the Wolves. They do not. Like, it's a huge spot. Huge spot. Stott, what up, boss? You my guy, bro. Big dogs, baby. Big dogs. Off the grid. Great question. The reason why the Pelicans do not match this situation is because they're missing huge pieces. CJ McCollum, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and another guy's out. They have huge pieces out. Huge. And they're just uncompetitive on it. If you saw this market steam, they opened at -1.5 or 2.5 in this game, and it got steamed 5.5 points to Dallas. It's such a good spot theoretically, but the injuries are huge, bro. Like, what they're doing right now is they're running Valanciunas, Zion, and BI with like 10 role players who are all super young. So the point is they just have no sustainability. And it's like understanding that there's revenge, one-off, same gym, 2 teams, the whole thing. It's just not the spot. It's not the spot. Not the spot. Detroit is healthier. Yeah, Jalen Duren being a key point. He's healthier. Obviously, Cunningham is playing, a couple of their guys. But also, Trae Young is questionable with some sort of personal, I think the birth of his daughter or something is going on. That's why the line shifted from 6 to 4.5. But I think he might get ruled in because it's speculative. Obviously, we don't know when the daughter or maybe the son, but whatever. For some reason, I just felt like he was having a daughter. I don't know. He struck me as a father of a daughter. I don't know. But I think that what you look at with the Pistons, which is more important than anything just in terms of health, as I said before, Pistons are 0-6 ATS against the West, and they're 5-1 ATS against the East. They're competitive, and they're going to be pissed off here. They're on an elongated losing streak. They're good at ATS against the East. 4x losing last year against the Hawks. The line is short too. This is coming down aggressively. And not only that, within this early season group tournament, whatever you want to call it, these younger teams just care more. There's no way around it. It's just a great spot. It's a great spot. Like with NBA basketball, you have to just buy the spots. And it's not just buying the spot from a narrative perspective. It's also the statistics. One team's on an elongated losing streak. One team's too hot. One team has owned the team in prior history, and the Vegas number is moving towards the team that's been getting crushed. These are the best spots in sports betting. I'm just being honest. They're the best spots in sports betting. The best spots in sports betting are where you find this beautiful merge dynamic to sell one team who's too hot situationally and buy one team who's too cold situationally. So that's what we're doing here. And it is a beautiful thing. And that's 1 hour in the books. I'm going to wrap it up on that, guys. You guys got the plays, but don't play them yet. We're going to get the final lines in the morning. And that was unintentional in terms of time, but, time is relative, and I think we're moving into the best space. So I appreciate you guys so much. And just my voice is definitely waning. So would be on here a little bit longer, but you guys know some of the times I stayed on it for 2 or 3 hours. I have to get up, walk around, the whole thing. So just trying to keep it more concise and conversational, as always. Appreciate you guys so much. Every one of you guys, honestly, I appreciate you guys just beyond words. It's unequivocal, the content we put out and the conversation we have in this chat. So sending you guys all the best vibes. Have a great night. We'll be out here in the morning with some commentary. You guys got the plays. Wait for the lines. We'll be dropping this in the middle of the afternoon. Sharky Waters Nation, cheers to you guys. Ride the wave you got to walk. Let's fucking go.